This is the Subaru XV and it sells for 1.9 million pesos. And this is the Geely Coolray and it sells for 1.2 million pesos. So in this video, we'll try to see how much car you can get for 1.2 million pesos nowadays. And we'll see how much more you can get if you spend 700,000 pesos more on a premium Japanese crossover. So you might be asking why I'm comparing two vehicles at very different price brackets. One, because I think it's interesting to see how much car you can get now at these two very competitive price brackets. Also, as we'll see later, just because one is more expensive doesn't necessarily mean that it's better at everything. These two vehicles excel at different things, and that's what we'll try to find out in this video. Also, the last time we did a comparo of two crossovers in the same price bracket, I got a bit of flack for it because they said they were different sizes. So this time they're both subcompacts, but they're at different price brackets. So like on my previous comparos, we'll compare them in different categories, but this time we'll give them scores in each category, and then later on we'll add up the scores. So let's start with the first category. The Subaru XV and the Geely Coolray are very similar in size and shape, but in terms of design, they go off in different directions. The Subaru XV goes for a more rugged look. It has these aggressive body moldings. It has these faux skid plates instead of diffusers and splitters. It has a higher ground clearance compared to the Coolray. Compared to the Coolray, it looks more like an off-roader, which it actually is. So if the XV goes for a more rugged look, the Coolray goes for a more sporty look. It has these aerodynamic touches like this aggressive front lip, this aggressive spoiler. It has this rear diffuser and quad exhaust tips. It also has these massive faux air vents on the bumper, which honestly I'm not really a fan of. So overall, it's a matter of taste. Both crossovers look good, but if I were pressed to choose, I would go for the Subaru XV. Subaru is a premium Japanese brand, and this interior reflects that. You got plenty of soft touch materials, you got leather, everything is well laid out, and you got these high resolution screens. It's a very nice looking interior, but compared to the Coolray, it looks a bit more bland. The interior of the Coolray has more of a wow factor to it. These metallic looking surfaces, the swooping lines, the sporty looking seats, and the two-tone interior give it a sporty look, which looks a lot more eye-catching than the more conservative Subaru XV. Next category is tech. The Geely Coolray is one of the most high-tech crossovers under 1.3 billion pesos. The Geely Coolray has active parking. It can automatically park itself. Now that is definitely a very impressive party trick. But if you've been driving for a while, it's probably not a feature that you'll be using very often. It also has a flashier 360 camera system, which looks nicer compared to the one on the Subaru. And it also comes with a built-in dash cam. The Subaru XV though has a lot more tech. And at its price of 1.9 million pesos, I think that's something that we should expect. It has adaptive cruise control, which is very useful on the highway as well as in city traffic. So adaptive cruise control is almost like autopilot for your vehicle. It automatically applies the brakes or the gas depending on the speed of traffic ahead of you. Since your feet won't have to do as much work, you're less fatigued in stop-and-go traffic as well as in longer trips. It also has automatic emergency braking. So even if you don't have adaptive cruise control turned on, the vehicle will automatically apply the brakes if it detects an impending collision. And this is something that I was able to test unintentionally. I was backing out from my driveway and there was a motorcycle parked behind me which I couldn't see. And the vehicle automatically applied the brakes and I was able to avoid a collision. On top of that, it also has lane departure warning, it has Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, dual zone climate control, which the Geely Coolray doesn't have. The tech on the Subaru XV will not just improve your driving experience, it will also improve safety. So this category definitely goes to the Subaru XV by a significant margin. Next category is cargo space. One reason why people prefer crossovers over sedans is that crossovers have more space for cargo. So I'll give it a separate category. The Coolray has more cargo space than the Subaru XV. With that said, neither vehicle really has a lot of space since both are subcompacts. They both have a lot less space compared to other crossovers in the segment like the Ford Territory. Still, I will give this one to the Geely Coolray because it has more usable cargo space. Both the Geely Coolray and the Subaru XV get a 5-star safety rating from NCAP. One thing to note though is that the local version of the Coolray doesn't get a lot of the active safety features of the Geely Binyue, the Chinese version of the Geely Coolray. It doesn't get adaptive cruise, it doesn't get automatic emergency braking. The Subaru XV though comes with Subaru's eyesight, which includes adaptive cruise control, automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, blind spot warning, rear cross traffic alert, etc. So not only will it protect you when an accident happens, it will actually prevent an accident from happening in the first place. Next category is ruggedness. The Subaru XV is designed to conquer terrain that few other vehicles can. It has Subaru's very impressive all-wheel drive system, it has a 500mm wading depth, and a 220mm ground clearance.
Okay.
So pwede siya sa baha, at pwede siyang i-offroad.
Oh, easy peasy.
It is masterful at what it's designed to do. We took it off-roading in Rizal. It was a muddy and low-traction trail. A lot of SUVs and pickups got stuck, but the Subaru XV managed to conquer the trail with very minimal effort. The Subaru XV is designed to be rugged, so obviously it excels in this category. The Geely Coolray though excels at something else, and that's going to be our next category.
Oh yeah.
The next category is sportiness. Speed is the main advantage of the Coolray over almost all of its competitors. It's the most powerful crossover in its segment, and you'd have to pay over 2.2 billion pesos if you want something with more power. The Geely Coolray has 177 horsepower. It can do 0 to 100 kph in 7.6 seconds, which is pretty quick for a budget crossover. Its dual clutch transmission is also more sporty than the Subaru XV's CVT transmission. The Subaru XV, while it's not as fast as the Coolray, it's not a slow crossover either. Its 2-liter boxer engine produces 156 horsepower, which is more than the Ford Territory and most other crossovers in this segment. It handles a bit better than the Coolray and twistier roads. Its lower center of gravity and Subaru's torque vectoring system make it feel more agile than a crossover should be. In the end though, I think the more powerful engine and the dual clutch transmission of the Coolray just make it feel like a sportier ride. At 1.9 million pesos, the Subaru XV is expensive compared to other modern crossovers. Unlike other Japanese crossovers though, you don't feel like you're just paying for the badge here. I feel like the Subaru XV is much better priced compared to its Japanese peers. It is very well equipped for the price. It has plenty of tech. It has plenty of driver aids and active safety features. Also, one thing that the XV has that the Coolray and other budget crossovers don't is Subaru's all-wheel drive system. It's a uniquely Subaru thing. It's not like you can buy a Volvo and do this in the mud. Compared to other Japanese crossovers, I feel like the Subaru XV offers much better value for money. The Geely Coolray though is much more aggressively priced. I've called the Geely Coolray a game changer before because it offered features that you didn't expect to get at its price of 1.19 million pesos. The interior is better than anything Japanese that's not a Mazda or a Lexus. You get a lot of toys, you get a lot of driver aids, you get a lot of tech for the price, and you get the most powerful engine in its class. So while both crossovers I think offer relatively good value for money, I'll give this one to the Coolray. It offers premium features at a price that a lot of Filipino buyers can afford. So there you go. The Subaru XV is more expensive, but not just because it's Japanese or because it's a premium brand. You also get more features and more capabilities. Now, whether those extra features are worth the extra 800,000 pesos, that depends on the buyer. It may have a very capable all-wheel drive system, but if you only plan to drive within the city, then it doesn't really matter. I think what this comparo proves though is that now, whether you have 1.2 billion pesos or 1.9 billion pesos, you can now get a lot of car for your money. These are both excellent crossovers, and whichever you choose, hindi ka talo. So the XV might be ahead on points, but it's also more expensive, so it can be argued that it should be expected. In the end, it boils down to which features you need and how much you're willing to pay for them. As for which one I would get, I really enjoyed off-roading with the Subaru XV, and I find that adaptive cruise is a feature that I tend to use a lot. So if it was within my budget, I would go for the Subaru XV.